disabled just means that we are disabled because of um, uh, of society's attitudes toward us.
Welcome to Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland Labrador's first podcast about living with communication disorders. It is a production of the Communication Collaborative. My name is Greg O'Grady. I am a person who stutters and your host. Some Stutter Law aims to rebuild confidence and hope for people who live with communication differences by dismantling myths, stigma, stereotypes, and barriers. For more information about the Communication Collaborative or this podcast, you can find us at somestutterlaw.ca. If you only get one thing from this podcast, we hope it's this. It's okay to stutter and it's okay to communicate differently. It's not how we communicate that's important, it's the message that's important. Today, Some Stutter Law warmly welcomes Brian Wu. Now, I've known Brian since the early 2000s, so it's been a while, Brian. So good to see you again.
You too.
Brian Wu is a social service worker student studying part-time at Durham College. He has worked with people with developmental disabilities for 12 years and has worked in a congregate care setting for over 7 years. He has a passion for raising awareness about mental health and is an advocate for stuttering community, the disabled community, the neurodivergent community, and the chronic illness community, which includes immunocompromised people. Brian identifies as a member of each of these communities and he increases awareness through his Twitter account at Stutter Loudly and his Instagram at Stuttering Loudly. Brian has volunteered at the Abilities Church, Drama Way, and was a planning committee member of the Simply People Disability Pride Celebration and the A Million Things I Need to Say Walk and Run for Stuttering Awareness. Brian was also a co-founder of the first People Who Stutter Toastmasters Club in Toronto. You left that out, Brian. Brian's early volunteer work taught him that identifying as a disabled or a neurodivergent person is not something to be ashamed of. We all have our own gifts and talents, and we all want a world that is inclusive and accessible. So, Brian, before we start, would you like to share a little bit about your own history as a person who stutters?
Okay. Well, I have stuttered ever since I was 5 years old. What when I was that young, my stuttering actually didn't really affect me, and I actually wasn't even like conscious that I was stuttering. But my teacher and my parents noticed, and I think they spoke about it when 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 they met for parent teacher interviews, but when I was that young, around 5 years old, my stuttering, it actually didn't really affect me that much. Even though I was always a quiet kid, I actually um wasn't even too aware or conscious that I was stuttering. Um, so so, so I still stuttered um, throughout all of my childhood and and of course till adulthood now. When I was in grade five, my stuttering got worse. So I'm not sure if that might have been because there were more stressors in my life, because when I was in grade five, I remember my grandmother had a stroke, and I think that might have been one of the stressors in my life that that may have contributed to my stuttering getting worse. And um, but even in grade five, even though the stuttering was a little bit worse, it still didn't really have a big impact on my life. Um, so grade seven, when I switched schools, um, I was still quiet, but still, I didn't really feel like my stutter affected me that much. Um, so grade seven and eight, I was in the same school, at, and then grade nine was when I started high school, and that was also when my family moved to a new area. So that was very difficult for me because I didn't know anybody. So so I think that not going to a new area and not knowing anybody, that really made me withdraw, and and that and me not having any friends made my stuttering get worse. And when I was in high school, I actually pretended to be invisible. I just didn't talk unless other people spoke to me. I think grade 9 or 10 was when my parents found me a speech therapist. It wasn't part of school. It was outside of school, because I don't think anybody at high school even knew that I stuttered. I just didn't speak, and then when I did presentations, I would practice and practice and practice, so that even when I did a presentation, you wouldn't really hear me stutter. So I don't think anybody in high school even knew that I stuttered, even though I was really quiet. And so so in grade nine or 10, I took speech therapy. Um, I I didn't find that helpful. That actually wasn't where the speech and stuttering institute. It was with somebody else. Um, and so I just stopped seeing that speech therapist, and I just continued on it in high school without having friends. Then I went to college, which was Centennial, and like throughout all of high school, I actually took so for my electives, I chose a lot of courses that were computers, and I think that was because I knew I wouldn't need to talk, and so that was also the college program that I took right after high school. It was computer networking. So I was at Centennial in that program for 4 years, but then I actually hit a wall because there was this one course that I failed, and I needed to take again. So when I took it again, I failed it a second time, and to me that was a sign that I that the computer field, the IT field, wasn't for me. So so at around that same time, um, I actually started volunteering um, at 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 a place called the Abilities Church, and that is a church that's inclusive to everybody who has a disability, and really enjoyed it. So my role there what was to be a camera operator and photographer for their website. But like even being there and seeing um, people with disabilities being included in that environment, and church in general is not an inclusive place, but but that that environment was, and I really enjoyed it there. And so while I was volunteering there, during one service, there was this organization called Drama Way that performed at this church. So Drama Way, they're an organization. They teach drama, dance, and visual arts, and life skills and social skills to to teens, young adults, and adults with developmental disabilities. So when they performed at the Abilities Church, it was mostly a dancing and singing performance, and like seeing them perform, it made me feel like I wanted to volunteer with them, and by that time I already had some experience during doing improv. So I also felt like volunteering with them what might be a good fit. So I talked to somebody there who who got me connected, and I started volunteering with them. So I volunteered with their dance programs, drama programs, and visual arts, which that actually was something that I really enjoyed doing, and so that made me want to get into to the developmental services worker program at Centennial, but then I I I I only did that program for maybe one and a half semesters, and the reason why I withdrew from that program was because I think back then I still wasn't very confident with my stutter, and I kind of still felt that if I worked in a job that required lots of speaking, I still didn't have the confidence to do that job. Um, so that was why uh, I I only did the developmental services program for one and a half semesters. Then I left. Then I took the American Sign Language and Deaf Studies program at George Brown. um, so disabilities in general was always something that I was interested in and passionate about, but also one of the reasons why I took the sign language and deaf studies program was also because I knew I wouldn't need to speak. um, Sign language was something that I really liked doing, but it wasn't. But I could see that there were other students who were better at that better at that than I I was, and and so when I finished that, the American Sign Language and Deaf Studies certificate, um, I actually still wasn't sure what to do, because my sign language skills were not good enough to like move further in that field. Uh, we Even though I got that certificate, um, so I actually went back to the developmental services worker program. This was at Durham College. And also, wait, so backtracked to George Brown, and so when I was there, so the sign language courses, they were like immersion courses. It was very intensive, and so I actually, and in those classes you weren't allowed to speak. So and our professors were all deaf. So if they saw you using your voice, they would make a sign like that, which means voice off. So which was interesting, that in class, like, I wouldn't talk, but outside of class at George Brown, I actually talked quite a lot, because when I was at George Brown, um, one of my friends from church who was also there. She wasn't in the sign language program. She took a different program, but we were friends, and we both thought it was a good idea to start a Christian club at George Brown, and so her and I were planning to get this group to get this club started, and so since I was passionate about sign language and disabilities, so we stated, um, in our group's mission and vision, that we wanted this group to be inclusive for people with disabilities, and deaf people as well. So so when we stated that there were a few people with disabilities who came, um, and various disabilities, who we even had a sign language interpreter there to make it accessible for deaf people. And so when I started this group with my friend, I actually expected her to do most of the leading, but that actually didn't happen. It was mostly me, because she actually was very busy with school and a lot of stuff. So it was actually mostly me who planned and facilitated these discussions, and and so through that experience, that actually made me realize how much I enjoyed doing that kind of work, like facilitating discussions and planning, uh, and and that was something that I really enjoyed doing, and something amazing happened. So during the first meeting, so there was actually somebody else who attended the first meeting who was also a person who stutters, and I was actually very impressed by him because he seemed very confident in his stuttering. He would stutter very openly, and he disclosed his stuttering to the group when we introduced ourselves. So me even seeing him being so confident with his stuttering, I think that also encouraged me as well, and to also have somebody there who also stutters, kind of helped me too. Um, so so that I think was a really great experience for me, because leading those groups, it made me realize and learn what I liked doing. So when I went into the went to Durham College, I did uh, the developmental services worker program again. So so there, I actually didn't finish the program, but it wasn't because of stuttering. It was because I got a job in that field. Um, so I took two and a half semesters, which is 1.5 years, um, at all of the developmental services program. Then I got a job in that field, working in in a group home, and so when I was at Durham College in that program, I actually used my improv skills and sign language skills there too, because and and starting I started clubs there too. I started a sign language club for developmental services students, because I knew that people who wanted to work with disabilities might also want to learn sign language. So I taught the basics of sign language to a group of students, and I also started an improv club there, which were both really fun things to do. Um, yes, so I got a job working in, in a group home, and I've been doing that for over 7 years. Um, but fast forward to now, I'm actually in a transition phase in my life. I actually left my job in a group home. So over there, like I really enjoyed it, and there were certain that aspects of that job that I really loved, but certain aspects that I didn't. One of the aspects that I loved was 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 doing something called called personal um, personal planning. So personal planning is meeting with a client and or their family members or one on one to discuss or plan their goals for the whole year. And doing that was one of the aspects uh, uh, of working in a group home that I really liked. So actually, not everybody who works in in group homes deal with per per personal plans. So my role there involved that because I was the support coordinator. So I so one of my roles was to have personal plan meetings with my clients or their family members, and so I knew what I enjoyed about working in a group home and what I didn't. So then now, um, so recently, with COVID and me being an immunocompromised person, so working in congregate care and in a group home is actually not really the safest thing for me. And I think in March, April was when Ontario removed their mask mandates and started opening things up. Like huge events started happening, and one of my clients back in March, April, they were going to Raptors games. They went 3 times in 4 weeks, and to me, I thought that was way too much. And I know that in Raptors games, like very few people wear masks, so I was concerned, but by working in the group home that I might be exposed. Um, and there was also one client who was going to the museum or the aquarium or the mall literally every day, and also in those three places, very few people wear masks. So I realized that working in a group home wasn't really the safest environment for me to be in, being compromised. So now, in this phase in my life, and I know I really loved working one on one with people and working in small groups, and I think the social service worker program will give me a lot of opportunities to, to do that, and also in that field, there's also a lot more opportunities to work virtually as well, because it involves a lot of coaching and counseling work, and those types of jobs are things can be done virtually, so it won't be as necessary for me to go into work in person and have the concern about um, be, be, being exposed to COVID.
Wonderful, Brian. Well, thank you very much, Brian, for sharing your history, and I'm very impressed, with I mean, with you know, with how you have handled all of your challenges, Brian. Because I'm thinking now, when you mentioned that in grades 9 to 12, you had classified yourself as being in invisible. It's
Mm-hmm.
obvious now, Brian, with all of your transitions in life, you are no longer invisible. Far from it, you know, which is great, because listening to you, Brian, you were definitely a role model for people who stutter, as well as the stutter as well as the disability community. So thank you, so thank you very much, Brian, for all of your uh, advocacy and support work. So it's been quite the challenge. I'm wondering, Brian, like when you mentioned about mental health, how's your mental health now, given all the changes, transitions you've been through? How would you classify your mental health at the moment?
Um, well, mental health is something that I think like everybody struggles with it, and it goes up and down. Um, I think right now my mental health has improved. I feel like I'm moving forward with my goals in life. Um, I also feel a bit nervous too. Since it's been a while since I've been in school, and actually, um, classes still haven't started yet. They actually start on Tuesday, so very soon. Um,
Mm.
and, and so and and time management and procrastination is something that I struggle with.
Mm.
Um, and I know things like that are 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 more common when you're doing a virtual program, which this one will be. I'm a bit nervous about that. Um, but in general, I I am looking forward
Mm.
to to reaching my goals and
Excellent, Brian. That's excellent.
and and, and to keep moving forward.
Great. Brian, looking at your bio here, you were saying that Brian's early volunteer work taught him that identifying as a disabled and neurodivergent person is something not to be ashamed of. Now, for our listeners, Brian, that is not familiar with the term neurodivergent, would you be able to explain that to our listeners? Well,
So
what's the definition?
so in when somebody tells you that they're neurodivergent. So that means that their brain works differently. So for example, people um, people with ADHD um, are 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 neurodivergent. I am actually self diagnosed with ADHD, which was actually a long journey for me. So people who stutter, we're also neurodivergent because our brain works differently when we speak. Um,
Mm.
and so I realized that I might have ADHD back when I was in Durham College. Um, so I really struggled with time blindness. It means that we we don't really have a sense of time, and we don't realize how much time has passed. So that made me um, so I that made me always hand in my assignments late.
Mm.
Um, so I was still a very good student. So even though like my assignments were always late, I always got eight eight 80s and 90s, and so part part of the ADHD is we're motivated by urgency. So I would uh, procrastinate in my assignments until the last minute, and
Mm.
that would motivate me to work on it. So
Mm.
I would work and work and work really fast, but I would do quality work at the same time, and that got me those eight, 80s and 90s when I was in school. So something else that I noticed that I struggled with was also transitioning between tasks. So if I was really hyper focused on something, like I I would forget to do other stuff other stuff that I needed to do, like
Mm.
eat, eat my meals or go to the washroom. So things like that um, was what made me realize that I might have ADHD. So I saw a disability counselor at Durham College, and she gave me this very long screener questionnaire, and there were so many pages. Like they asked me about my history, like how I did in school. There was also a part that asked my parents to fill out what how I acted as a child, and how I did on my uh, uh, on my report cards. Um, so when I when I finished that questionnaire, it was so long, so many pages. I handed it in, and when my disability counselor saw that, so she she also suspected that I have ADHD.
Mm.
So she recommended me to go to my family doctor and get a referral to see a psychiatrist, and to get a diagnosis. But this was back in 2014, and for some reason I never heard back. We even after that referral. Um, so now my ADHD is still it still affects me. So and that's a concern for me, since I'm starting school again.
Mm.
So self diagnosis is valid, and it's widely accepted in the neurodivergent community. Like getting an official diagnosis is still helpful,
Mm-hmm.
be, because it can get it it can get you things like like accommodations at work or school. So I think that getting a diagnosis is still something that I want to pursue.
Ryan, do you have any idea why getting this official diagnosis is taking so long? Have you spoke to your disability counselor about that, or is it just
Um,
process?
we suggest like how the medical system works. There's only there's actually not a lot of um, there's actually not enough psychiatrists, and a lot of them have a lot of patients, and there's a lot of there
Mm.
are long waiting lists.
Mm. Brian, given all of your health, health and medical challenges, what keeps you going? What actually keeps you going?
Um, um, well, I think one thing is like having goals and like knowing who you are and what your strengths are and what your gifts and what your talents are. Because this I think sometimes in life like we don't really think, oh, what are my gifts, what are my talents, what am I good at, but um there was a few months back um a a a, a friend asked me that, and like even for me, like the first thing I said was I am not sure, but then I I I remembered my like what I did in the past and what I what I did before, like in college, leading and facilitating groups, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what I enjoyed in the working in a group home or working one on one,
Mm-hmm.
and like that actually made me realize like what I'm passionate about and what my talents are, just from my friend asking me that question.
Brian, it's obvious now, listening to you, listening to listening to all of the activities that you're involved in. You have a Twitter account. You have Stutter Loudly. You have your Instagram, Stutter Loudly. You're involved in so many support groups. I mean, support areas that you're also getting a lot of support from the larger community as well. And I'm sure this is helping to motivate you, and also helping your mental health and wellness. By being so actively involved. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So even be, before um earlier on, like in my long journey, like before I volunteered for the Disability Pride celebration, like I actually like with my stuttering, I actually didn't really uh like see that as uh, as like something something people something that something that can be proud of. But then volunteering for the Disability Pride celebration made me see
Mm.
that there's nothing wrong with being disabled
Mm.
or neurodivergent or spe- or having a stutter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think so. The reason why I really love the term neurodivergent is because it's also about neurodiversity, and being open to the fact that not everybody's brains will work differently. So
Mm-hmm.
some people stutter. Some people take more time to do 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 things, and 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 that's okay. We should be accepting uh, 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 of each other's differences, and
Mm-hmm.
how we learn and how we interact with other people. Because people who stutter, we might take a bit longer to say what we need to say, but if people were more uh, accommodating, or more inclusive, they would take the time to listen to what we have to say, and 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 when people do that,
Mm-hmm.
we won't have any barriers. So disability is caused by a society. It's not our stuttering that makes us disabled. It's how people react to it, and how people are not willing, or not, or don't have the patience to listen to us. That creates these barriers, which was also why I named my account Stuttering Loudly, which was before. It was by a different name. It improv with a person who stutters, but I changed that to Stuttering Loudly. And to me, what Stuttering Loudly means is, it's actually not like, it doesn't mean yelling, or talking loudly. It just means, to me, it means like not being ashamed of the way you talk, and don't let, like, anybody silence you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was my view about my stutter when I was doing improv, because I would do my improv scenes. I would stutter, and and when I was stuttering in those improv scenes, I actually wasn't even thinking about my stutter. I would just say, whatever came to mind first.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just stuttering loudly, and
You know,
it
Brian, just
didn't bother me.
just listening about thinking about the name Stutter Loudly, and listening to your journey, which which is quite something, Brian. I would add Stutter Loudly with pride, or Stutter
Yeah,
Loudly proud. With pride. I think just given your journey, Brian. I mean, I mean, just thinking back from when I met you years ago, you really have come a long way, a long way. Congratulations.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Brian, in terms of disability, do you, I mean, within the stuttering community, disability, whether or not stuttering is a disability, it's a 50-50. It's almost like a board of directors. Do you consider stuttering a disability or not? What's your thoughts?
Um, well, it is a disability, uh, uh, according to the law. So if people who stutter want to be protected by the law and protected from discrimination, I think it would be beneficial for the stuttering community to 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 accept the term disability more.
Hmm.
Um,
It,
yeah. So I can see why uh, uh, a lot of people who stutter might not um, like to label themselves that way, but I also think that that also comes from misunderstanding what disability is. So disability really isn't something negative or, or, or a positive thing. So some people with disabilities, they like to call themselves a person with a disability. So that's people first language, and some like to call ourselves um, disabled, and so disabled just just means that we are disabled because of um, uh, of society's attitudes toward us,
mm,
and how society acts toward us. So society is usually they're not willing to to accommodate us because we're the minority, and 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 it's actually still a battle even now. So people with people with mobility disabilities, for example, wheelchair users, they are there are actually still places that are not accessible for them, and so they're disabled because of that, and, and
mm,
so and so and so people who stutter can identify as being di- disabled because really even if we are open about our stuttering, which I know that a lot of people who stutter are, some of us aren't, but even if we are, that actually does not erase all of that discrimination completely. I think like from my experience, I think there are still barriers to people who stutter, even though we might we might uh, try to be o- open about open about it. There's some people out there which are a minority, but they just don't, I guess, have a good opinion of people with a with a stutter,
Mm.
and 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 there's only so much that 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 somebody can do by saying I by disclosing their stuttering. We can't really change people's minds about it, but like um oh, well, I think everybody has their uh, uh, unconscious biases, and 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 sometimes even with people who 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 were open about stuttering with, they still don't really understand fully like what we really go through,
Mm.
and and so so being open about your stutter is a really great thing, but since I don't think it can e- e- erase all of those barriers. I think it's still very beneficial for the stuttering community to really embrace uh, uh, the disability term, or even neurodivergent, because there are actually some people who stutter, not I actually don't see this term being too common in the community,
Mm.
but I've seen people who stutter describe ourselves as verbally diverse, or verbally divergent,
Mm.
which just means we talk in a different way.
Mm.
That that's a variation of being neurodivergent,
Mm.
and
Mm. You know, Brian, like I'm laughing to myself because when
yeah.
I read your bio when you sent it to me earlier, I never heard of the word before neurodivergent. Never heard of
Oh.
it once. So I've learned something today, definitely.
Yeah, I actually think that that term is really great, because it just teaches us to remember and embrace that everybody's different. Like even if you don't uh, identify as being neurodivergent, your brain still works differently from another person, even though if they're not neurodivergent. So it's basically all about just being more more accepting of how our brains work.
Mm. Brian, sorry, do you feel do you feel that the government needs to place stuttering under their lens of policies and changing policies, implementing policies and procedures for people who stutter? Do you think the government needs to take more initiative and start listening to people who stutter?
Um, I think so. Um, I think that that actually would be very helpful because I know that that speech language pathologists they often don't get enough funding. So so I think that'll really help.
Hmm. And Brian, how about teachers? Do you feel teachers need support and more training to work not only with the disabled community but with people who stutter? Do you think that there needs to be more attention paid to about stuttering within the school system?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm thinking of like my own experiences, like as a student too. Like I I don't think teachers are aware of stuttering. Um, so teachers should be trained on how to interact with people who stutter and how to how to recognize the signs too. Because we even if a student doesn't talk, that's also if a student is quiet or doesn't talk much, that also is a sign of stuttering. And
Mm.
and I think a lot of teachers um, don't realize that.
Like when you mentioned earlier that you actually talked stopped talking in school in high school that you can see yourself invisible or you made yourself invisible. Did any teachers notice that at all, or did they approach you about this? Or,
No, no. When I did presentations, I just practiced so much that my stutter wasn't no, noticeable. Or when people did talk to me, I I I would respond it in as few words as I could, because I knew I would um, stutter.
do you feel, Brian, at this point in your life that you're a confident person who stutters?
Yes, I would. I would call myself that in general, but there are still certain situations that can make me anxious. For example, meeting new people, but I find that like 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 they like pe- people know when I speak that I stutter. I don't. I actually don't usually disclose like or unless I feel I need to, or like if I'm in an interview, so that's where I I would disclose.
Mm. Do you still at times then, Brian, like try to mask your stuttering then, or does it always a big temptation? Let's say, is there any temptation, or
Um,
you're an over person who stutters? No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I actually feel like even if I try, my stutter will still come out. So it's just something that having a stutter is just something that I've just learned to to accept.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, happy. Okay, because we all know that there's no cure for stuttering whatsoever. No cure.
Mm-hmm.
There's no magic pill or a magic needle or anything, you know. And this is why, Brian, that I've started to introduce myself as a person who stutters, because with my history of being a covert, always trying to hide my stuttering,
Mm-hmm.
it really is, it sets oneself up because it causes even more stress, as you're just saying that,
Mm-hmm.
because the stuttering will eventually come out. So this is a great talk. It's a waste of time and energy to try and hide it. You know what I mean? You know, just saying, Brian.
Yeah.
So
It.
once I say that, once I say that I'm a person who stutters, it reminds me. It keeps reminds me,
Oh.
Greg, you're a person who stutters. So don't try to hide it. You know. I mean, you know. So it's really it's a double-edged sword. You know.
It is. Yeah.
So Brian, what is your long-term goals now for yourself? What is
Um.
short-term, long-term?
Um. Well, the the program that I'm taking now, the social service worker program. So I'm doing that part time, and and the maximum time they're allowing for me to finish that program is 4 years. So
Mm,
my goal is actually to do it to finish that in less, maybe three.
mm,
Um, and also right now for short term, um I'm actually looking for another job. So I've been job searching too.
mm,
Um, I
mm,
actually started speech therapy again at the Speech and Stuttering Institute with Marnie. I'm meeting. I just started meeting her yesterday, actually,
oh,
one on one.
wonderful, wonderful!
So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. So so I've been working on that. Um,
Mm,
so I think so short term, just finding a job in this transition phase in my life, and
mm,
doing well in my courses too. So one thing I'm a bit nervous about is my courses, which would require me to practice counseling, and so that's um, something that I need to work on getting more
mm.
confident at, and ran a long term finishing in 3 years and getting a job in the field.
Good. Well, Brian, just to share a little bit of my story is when I saw that you said you're taking the social service worker diploma through Durham. When I first started, we're going back a few years ago now. A few years ago, I actually took the 2 year social service worker program at Algonquin College,
Oh,
and but you were saying that you're thinking about doing it in 3 years, and but they're giving you 4 years. It's amazing. This when I took the program, it was 2 years solid. However, in one sense, it turned out to be a 4 year program. The reason why is that I had to apply twice before I was
oh,
accepted into the program,
oh,
and
wow.
it was because of my stuttering. And
Oh, really?
I went to two interviews, and so I didn't do two. I was very inarticulate at the first interview because of my stuttering. But the second interview, I went for speech therapy. I also had the
Wow.
Toronto Speech and Stuttering Institute, and had Dr. Kroll back then. And so with the help of Dr. Kroll and the Speech and Stuttering Institute, and you see, Brian, this is why I'm so grateful to the Speech and Stuttering Institute because they really
Mm-hmm.
helped me through my life personally and professionally. So my
Mm-hmm.
second interview, I did quite well. So I was finally accepted. So it actually took me 4 years to do a 2 year
Oh,
program.
wow.
But anyhow, I mean, so that social work diploma, as well as the support of the Speech and Stuttering Institute, really laid the foundation for me, career wise. So the best of luck to you, guy. The best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, Brian. I mean, I still have lots of questions, but I mean, we will need to do a definite follow up.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so let's
we should.
but let's not take this long to have you on since because I still have a lot of questions to ask you, Brian. But but Brian, thank you so much for all of your advocacy and support work that you're doing on behalf of the stuttering community as well as the disabled community. So thank you so very much for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It was G- great to talk with you.
Well, it's always good to talk to you, Brian. And also, look, do you have any last words before we close tonight?
Um,
Any of the for more pearls of wisdom for the studying community?
um, well, I don't think we should let our um our stuttering hold us back. Just keep stuttering loudly and embrace who you are and embrace your 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 stuttering and embrace your neurodivergence and embrace how your brain works differently because there's nothing wrong in being different. Society has told us that there's something wrong with this, but there it isn't.
Mm. So really, Brian, we don't need to be fixed.
That's true.
That's true. Okay, Brian, and so how often do you do your Instagram posts and Twitter, just in case some of our listeners would like to start
Oh,
listening to you?
I actually I actually just post whenever there's something on my mind,
Okay.
but they can feel free to follow me.
Excellent. Well, Brian, thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule, and as obvious, you do have a definite busy schedule for for joining me in this conversation today. So, thanks again, and thanks again for all of your advocacy and support work to the disabled community and for people stuttering. But we will have you back again on some Stutter Love.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, Brian, we will talk again. Take care.
Thank you.
Some Stutter Love is hosted by Greg O'Grady. It is produced, recorded, and edited by Paul De Decker, as well as Luca Dini, who, by the way, wrote this jazzy theme music. Leah Bugden and Alicia Magasin command our pages on Instagram and TikTok. Editing assistance was provided by the Labrador Languages Preservation Laboratory, or Laboratory, at the Memorial University of Newfoundland. You can listen to or subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Spotify. Video versions of each episode are found on our YouTube page. Some Stutter Luck is a production of the Communication Collaborative. Thanks for listening.